So we circle back to China and Korea to immerse ourselves in mostly Chinese culture, though also Korean culture, in terms of its majesty, its longevity, but also its increasing modernity. And the textbook authors introduce this chapter, once again selecting one artwork to capture many important themes, and they select a hanging scroll with ink on paper. So again, the arts of the brush, which you started to learn about, are of the utmost importance. We will learn to see how these kinds of paintings with poetry and calligraphy are statements of personal values. They are poetic responses to nature, and they are also political in subtle ways. So one of the things that's very central and amusing or fun about this chapter is the work of developing your eye so that you can look at a painting like Zhao Mengfu's Sheep and Goat around 1300 and figure out a little bit about what the artist is saying about himself, about his world, about where he fits into the painting tradition. And as you develop your eye, you'll be learning to see why an artwork like this one is considered a court painting. What are the visual and physical features that tell you that? Versus a painting like this one of pure ink on paper, mounted as a hand scroll. What are its values? What kind of a spirit of the artist and what kind of an audience is it expressing? So you will be learning to look very closely at different artworks, which is one of the great skills of art history, since it translates into the same kind of skill that goes into close reading and careful analysis. Painting will not be the whole story, though. We will also look at the exquisite imperial style of porcelain ceramics that gain worldwide fame. And perhaps most fascinating, the construction of the Forbidden City, this luxurious, closed city that treats the emperor who lives here as if he were a sacred figure. It's a kind of sacred space for the imperial ruler. And it's an amazing extravaganza of so many different kinds of art forms. And so the first organizing principle is the idea of periods in art history. And for China, that means the dynastic system, the dynasties that follow from dynasties. So why 1279? Why that specific year? It is the year in which China is ruled by an outside foreign power. The Mongolian, quote unquote, barbarians, as the Chinese saw them, invade and conquer China. So China's system of government is toppled, and the barbarians are installed as the new rulers of China in a major historical trauma. So the word Mongol, Mongolia, those from Mongolia, is related to our word that we know, the Mughals. And yes, Akbar had Mongolian and Turkish ancestry. So if we look back at our chart, our timeline of the dynasties, we have seen before, as in the Sixth Dynasties period, foreign dynasties ruling, conquering dynasties, but never before a dynasty that conquered the entirety of China's enlarged imperial system. This great shock of foreign rule has shock waves that reverberate for the entirety of the Yuan dynasty, which lasts 100 years until the Ming dynasty, which restores the Han ethnic group's ruling status. And then, interestingly, the Ming dynasty lasts for quite a while. You will get another foreign dynasty, in this case, the Manchus of Manchuria again become a foreign dynasty. So you can see in this map how China has always had a vulnerability at the north, which is why the Qin emperor built that long wall. And we're seeing that come and affect the dynastic system. However, when the Manchurians, in your little pink spot here, when they take over and found the Qing dynasty, it is not the same in tone as when the Mongolian quote unquote barbarians take over, because the Manchurians are thoroughly immersed in, engaged with, assimilated into Chinese culture. And the saying is that they were more Chinese than the Chinese, which is of course absurd, but it's a good way of expressing it. So the Qing dynasty will last until 1912, and that point will take us right up to the beginning of China as a republic, 1912 to 1949, and then its conversion into a communist totalitarian state under Mao Zedong. In this chapter, we do not touch on those yet. We're saving those for the final module because those are really a disruption, not so much a continuation. Even though, of course, the Yuan dynasty is a disruption, it is still a continuation of the idea of an imperial government run by an emperor. What happens in the 20th century is far more radical, so we save that for later.